Boom. So Stefan Pape from HeyUGuys. How are you doing today, Rafael?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thanks. I'm a big fan of the movie and now the series. I'm going to get started by asking, I just wondered about what stage this whole idea for a series was first proposed. And did you need to be convinced about undertaking it?
Yes. I need to be convinced it was David and I really didn't want to do this idea of a show. I think there's a little bit of a negative stigma sometimes about spinning your thing off into a series, that it can cheapen it, and so I think we'd had such a relatively small but strong response to the film. We were like, well, that's great, like let's do something else, and see what other ideas of ours we can make. And really, Lionsgate proposed this idea of the show. We're like, we don't need to do that. Like that, it's done. We did it. But on our way to tell them no, we were in the car. And we were like, well, let's just talk about, is there any world where we would actually do this show? And it was like, only if Jasmine's the lead, if like we're not the center of it. We introduced a bunch of other new characters, and we can have dance and verse and all the weird stuff that we really want to do that's really fun for this world. And Lionsgate said yes, and then Starz said yes. I think that really gave us a new outlook on what it means to build something in this world. And so we wrote the pilot and the second episode, and we were like, God, we're really like kind of in love with this group of people. Well, if we can find a really great cast, then we'll do it. And I think we just got lucky every step of the way, that it just kept getting better and better and better. And eventually, like now, when I leave these interviews, I'm going to, work on the mix for episode 6. Like I love this group of people. I don't wish we were back in the movie version of this. I'm like, no, this is a different way to watch this world, and I'm in love with it.
I mean, it's so unique, Blindspotting, as a franchise now, if you want to call it that. I've never seen anything like it before. Do you feel like that when you're writing it? Are you sitting there writing it and thinking, hang on a minute, this is new? Is that something only kind of an audience member can take in?
I certainly only police when it feels definitively like something I've already seen. If I'm writing something and I'm like, oh man, they did this on this show, I'm like, oh well, how are we doing it different? Because I don't want to cheapen what that other show or film did. I want us to, not necessarily, like, I don't know that we have some like great ambition to push the envelope in every facet of the show, but I do think we benefit from having never made television before, that our background is sort of multi-hyphenate theater, right? It is like performance and poetry and verse and music, and like these are sort of seemingly disparate trajectories of David and my career. But I think when we get on the show, we can do them all. I think just the ingredients in the pot make something that has been described back to us as something that people haven't seen before. And I think that's an amazing compliment. Like, I just take that as an amazing compliment, and I'm like, great. Like, I think mostly what I hear from that is continue to make the show that you want to make, because that's the one that's most interesting.
Yeah. And one of the things, I love how everyone is so human in it. And I know people are flawed and people make mistakes, but inherently people are good and people mean well. Is that something you tried to get across, or was I just in a deep philosophical mood when I was watching it?
No, I mean, well, you were probably in a deep philosophical mood, and that's true. Like these, I'm sure these were both happening. I think we've talked a lot on the show about hope, and that we are not, staunch like pessimists, like that I generally believe in the flawed good in everyone, that everyone's got some problems but are trying to do their best, and I think we wanted a story that eventually would be hopeful amidst a really tragic situation. And so, a lot of times the questions are always phrased like, but how will Miles and Ashley make it? Not if, but how will it happen? And what's going to be the things that hits them, and what hits this family, and what's trying to take Rainey out at the knees, and what is Trish going through at her job, and Janelle back from Bali? Like what is that? But like, how are they going to straddle and persevere and fall down and get back up? Because that's what we're expected to do in life, And so I think I really enjoy television that mirrors what is being asked of me in life, which is to get up and keep going and find the love and the joy in a world that is not always loving and joyful.
Yeah. I was speaking to Jasmine yesterday, and we were speaking about how Blindspotting is one of those things that could so easily not work, and it is the strength in your writing, you and the that ensures that it does work and it is successful. But I'm just wondering about how do you kind of ensure that is the case? When you write stuff down, do you almost have to perform it yourself when putting pen to page to kind of make sure it sounds okay? I just wondered how you get, because it is one of those tricky things that, I don't know, written down it could seem like it could go one or two ways, but it always eventually comes across so well.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that's how you feel. I think we're always afraid of that same thing, like I think we're really aware that we're always walking that line, and so we're performers. So I think the minute it's on paper, we're reading it out loud. I don't think we're, I like to walk around the house and say all the dialogue out and figure out, where does the punctuation need to be and where's the breath, so that when we're with the actors, we can not necessarily give them a line read, right? But like let them know the intention behind the pace of the thing. I think the other thing that we get really excited about is actually in trying to attempt things that maybe other people would perceive as bold or hyper specific. We give the note to everyone on set to throw everything away, like to treat all the dialogue as if this is just how people talk all the time, and that it's not heightened and that it's not particularly witty. But like, if you say a joke, don't wait for the reaction, don't clear space for the response, like just say it and move on. And I think there is a casualness to being sort of virtuosic that does really, I think really does work for the kind of writing that we do. And I think we tried to find actors that gravitated towards that kind of being able to perform the work in that way. But in terms of, and we are constantly in fear that nothing works, which maybe that's a healthy fear. But yeah, like a scene goes up and we'll all look at each other at Video Village and just be like, I hope this fucking scene works, because we spent a lot of time on it and it's a lot of words. And then she's going to turn to camera and start breaking stuff and rapping. So, but I think everyone involved is on board for the experiment. And that's a lot of goodwill. That's a lot of people conspiring to not let it fall, so that helps.
Yeah. And what about working with the V? How much you kind of inspire each other as kind of creative, and what about how the dynamic kind of works? I've got this like romantic idea that cigarette smoke fills the air. There's a paper bin full of forgotten ideas, and that will never make it. Am I close, or is that just what it looks like in the movie?
That's really funny. If it was like 1954, that might be true. If anyone's like I'm probably the only one who ever picks up an occasional cigarette when I'm writing, because I probably, for that same reason, for some weird like nostalgia, and like I need to like hurt my body, I need to like pay penance, I need to hurt my body physically to get anything out of myself. But yeah, I think a lot of our process changes so much depending on what project we're working on. This one, luckily with the show, we got to do a lot of writing in tandem, which was great. What we usually do when we're writing a script is like we divide up the scenes in an episode and we do a vomit draft. So I'll be like, all right, I'm going to take this one, this one, this one, and this one. And he goes, I'm going to take this one, this one, this one, and this one. And we just write like in an hour and write the whole script. And then we trade. And then when we trade, we can change whatever we want. And it's really liberating to do that. It's like immediately not your baby anymore. And we're going in and, I think this and this connects with this. And then suddenly you sort of have this like this interwoven piece out loud. And usually it's too long and not very good. And we're rambling on a subject we don't need to. And then we get the actors in, or we get other people to read it with us. Our producers, Jess and Keith Calder, come in and they give notes. And I think ultimately what David and I have gotten really good at over the years is the same thing that happens in music studios when you're making songs. It's like it's the best idea wins, and nothing can interrupt the energy and the vibe and the spirit of the project. And so I think for us, it's so much about like what is the most interesting thing in service of the prompt, of the experiment that we're investing in. And that makes it really easy when one of us is writing a bunch more than the other one, or someone's idea is the one that is really the thrust of the thing. It immediately becomes both of ours and we both take ownership over it. And, you know, the reality is that I think he's a genius, and he keeps saying that he thinks I'm a genius. And like that belief in each other, that unwavering sort of, I think what it really means is that at any moment, I believe that he is capable of a genius idea. And that is, I think if you know that someone feels that way about you, it's very easy to fail in front of them, because you know that they're just waiting for you to succeed on the highest level, and they know that it's going to happen. I think that's our ticket.
That's a sign of a good friendship, someone you can fail in front of, I think. But my final question was just, I was speaking, obviously, the way you picked the character of Ashley from the movie and then built a kind of series around her. Going forwards, if we want to see more, maybe blind spotting, is that something that you could do again? Would you maybe persist with the character of Ashley, or would you be interested in finding another character and almost kind of then giving them center stage for a second season?
Yeah. How many episodes have you seen so far?
Just 2, so not
just
many.
2. Dang, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
As you go in the show, it does become more of an ensemble show as it goes. Okay. And we do start to kind of like head out with Earl and head out with Janelle and head out with Trish and Rainey. And I think the exciting thing about multiple seasons would be that that I think Ashley would very much stay the thrust of the show in terms of the timeline. But we can do entire storylines with any of the other characters. And I think by the end of this first season, that'll feel very natural for the show. We did try to pick a model that wasn't so singularly focused on our lead that when she's not there, it feels like a different show. I think it starts to feel a lot like an ensemble show by around episode 6 or 7.
Oh, I can't wait to get there.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to see it.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time today, and best of luck with the release and stuff. And maybe if there is a second season, maybe we can do something like this in person. Who knows?
I would love that. Thanks so much for this time. I really appreciate it.
So take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey,